Well, hello everyone. Here to show you right here is the contracts, 25 years activity right here. Talk about for contracts, and I'm sure most of us have seen contracts before. They are basically an agreement, and if anybody will warrant to where that if you've seen them before, that you would usually see them for anything about what's called memberships, and I don't even know if the insurance companies would do about the same thing to where they say that whenever you sign a form or a contract, if it's online, and they might even have the same thing even from mobile too. You can sign one by one click that you can sign forms, but you see right here is this painting right here. If we see this right here, that you can also find this painting on Kuros site, that I went and worked, but what I went and worked right here is I changed, it's like the year right there for 2030, just so that way we can know that that with most contracts that a few of them are only good for for about maybe a year or two, something like that. If anybody will warrant to where that compared to warranties, I might that if you're going to be signing a contract or any source of agreement, they might say that to where that any damages from based on this item, that we are not responsible for any cost of the repairs, and it's like, so if anybody were to say, yeah, if you're going to be buying a phone or a computer, then you would sign an agreement, and if you want to call it like kind of like a contract, to where that it's basically a settlement, like an agreement, to where that whenever you buy something, or maybe whenever you get hired onto a job, or that if it's going to be leases, or if it's going to be taking care of your taxes, that they would ask you to sign something. And the way I drew this picture right here is like this right here would be me, example right here of me on my birthday right here. So if anybody will want to where that whenever you sign a contract, it is that basically just like doing your math homework, huh? I'm like, if you're gonna have a pen, I'm like pencil or pen, and you're going to be writing your name somewhere sitting right here at the desk, and then you're going to be signing before you begin your exam, that they ask you to sign sign a date on the top. I guess it'll be the top, this will be the left, but it'll be my top right, from that side. But be able to sign your name on the form back in those days before you begin your exam. And nowadays it seems like that you probably don't even have to spend the 4 or 5 seconds just to put the date, or if it's anything about for how much time that if they're going to be testing you, that they might ask you to where that something something having a package delivered. I don't know if anybody has experienced that, to where if you're going to be getting a package delivered to you, and they ask you to sign something, and that they just they hand you the package, or that if anything, it's not even a real big heavy package either. It's maybe just an envelope, and they ask you to sign something. So really, that about how many of us have done a study about why is it that signatures or autographs are most important to some of these companies and businesses. But you see right here, we've seen this a few times already. But talking about for contracts, though, that I put this together using InDesign, so that business reasons right there. So that's me if I were to be in the near future. And then you have right here of like an example right here of a contract, but that this idea right here of a contract goes on for for 25 years. So that the way I put this together right here is kind of like repeats. So whenever I was using InDesign, it basically means is to where that that if anybody wanted to where that if you're going to be typing the contract yourself, you say things like terms of use of service. But really, I'm like, who really is going to write their own contract, or if it's anything about what it calls to where who makes the rules. But still, that this activity right here I want to talk about for Planet Earth right here. And I know I have more examples up on my portfolio, but this right here actually talks about for 2030, and so that's about 25 years, and let's just say that anything that you've been working on about your skills, and if you've been working on your job searching skills for the past 5 years, since this time, that I got this idea maybe by looking at a photo that was taken from back in 1988, and you're like, or maybe 1993, something like that, my birthday in 1984, and just looking at that, back nearly 20 years ago, as to how much progress I came up with so far as, yeah, on your, on your 11th birthday, that you got in some puzzles and some games, or, something fun to play with, but, really, that, the way we think about that, is signature really something to play? I'm like, if anybody wore a warrant tour, that, why is it that, why is it that an autograph can do so much? An autograph, the way we think about it, a pen or a personal pin number or an autograph can do as much effect as, like, say, like an, compared to, if we want to call it like a social security number or maybe a password. So if we're going to be sign on to an online account, and that information right there, if anybody warrants us toward it, that for usually by how you sign your name, and doing like the electronic way, and this right here, you say, would be an example, because I know that a lot of times that I don't usually use space between the C and the G right here for knowing about, if anybody warrants us toward, about how they know how to pronounce my last name, but they don't know how to spell my last name. But still, that you have right there is the electronic signature right there, and then for the date, for July 20th of 2030. And if anybody were asked, is that supposed to be a Friday? Or I'm like, well, on this design right here, I went and put Saturday. So about how many of us would probably think that really, I'm like, during business hours, that's usually Monday through Friday. But who would be contacting you on a Saturday on a weekend to ask you to sign a contract? So if anybody were to say, yeah, if there's any rules about that, insurance companies that they ask you to sign something, and they say that they are willing to to bring a letter form to you. I'm like, yeah, if they're willing to make a house visit or something like that, on a Saturday, and say that, all we want you to do is just sign this form right here. And so you're like, think about it, toward it, yeah, well, as long as it's okay with you, okay? Yeah, I guess if there's any rule about that, as long as it's okay with you to come by, the address, so they ask you to sign the form here, so that way you can get enrolled in insurance. But still, though, that how many of us are going to want to deal with this, especially on their birthday? And you're like, say that on your birthday, that you really would be looking forward to where you can maybe get the car to, whenever you want something, you've been wanting something for a long time, or maybe get it started, for a job search if you're doing this for job reasons. But with most contracts, though, that the way we think about it is, if you're going to be joining a business or a team, that basically that I'm gonna maybe use something like this to where that that they have the date right here, like you have the planet right, but still that I'm gonna maybe use something like this right here as like my profile ID, and you have right here for contracts. And so the way I think about it too is that really that now, I don't know if it's really considered a test. I'm just reading the examples. The terms of use of service by signing a contract of members of he or she to follow terms. They shall understand the work with the company based on the quality of interest and the duties and responsibilities that must be met, and then the work that is assigned by the manager. So you have right here is this print right here, and yeah, that some of it. If anybody say that be writing some examples of a contract, and yeah, that those contracts can go on for about maybe 4 or 5 pages. There may be some dating errors, or there might be some errors in there, because I can already see that there are some errors, especially that whenever I type it in, thinking as to where that if you're going to be providing an example of a contract, and thinking about as to where that quite a few of them that they say that not everybody, I guess not everybody is going to read the contracts in full, but just get the basic understanding about whenever you agree to where that just like sign up membership to to a phone, or maybe if it's anything related to a business card or some sort. But really, that if anybody wanted to, if you're going to be getting hired onto a job and working with somebody, if this somebody's going to maybe be Jennifer Rice, or if it's you're going to be McCullough McCarthy or something like that, McCullough McCarthy, but anybody in particular name that they want to use, and they're like say that that they may have met them maybe on Instagram or maybe on LinkedIn, and they're like say that I'm interested in doing business with you, and so it's like think about it toward it. There are some jobs that may ask you to sign a form, and that they will not allow you to proceed unless if you sign the form. So it seems like to where that you feel like saying, well, just put a sticker on it, or just put a smiley face, there on the corner, and let's move on to the next step, okay? Like it doesn't work that way. If anything, you can maybe do that, just saying this to where, have a nice day. I'm like, have a thanks, thank you for your time or something like that. That about how many of us are going to say that would a smiley face work about the same. But I guess if anybody wanted to work just like our fingerprints, that our fingerprints, you're like thinking as toward that. Why is it that signatures are a real big important agenda so far as proceeding toward it? That I guess it's basically, if anybody were to say whenever you sign a contract, it basically means that you were present. You were present during the time of the meeting, or like of so far as your agreement, and I can go ahead and say that you were I guess it's proof. Proof that you were present. So the proof that you it was proof proof that you were there. Just so they can proceed. It was proof that you were there, in person, to be able to take care of you. There's more room right up here. I can, just draw a little picture right here. If anybody will want to wear it, that, signature is basically proof that you were present during the time of the meeting, or maybe of that people were talking to you about something, and go paperless. There's going to be some changes maybe in the policy or something like that. So it's basically that, a signature is basically proof that you were present, during the time. It's a form, and they would highly suggest, if you want to keep some extra copies too. But still, though, that really, from compared to my last video, that I do one or two that really, I'm like, if we can maybe ask one another that what can we do really? I'm like, if you're much smaller than the world, and what I mean by that is to where that if you're going to be that there's only so much that you can do for the world, so far as your career, and then your ability for the work that you can do. But if we're talking about that, taking care of our taxes and responsibilities, as well as that if it's maybe starting a job or doing online work, that basically that if you want to look at as to where that whenever you sign something, that you're not really playing the game, to where if anybody wanted to where that whenever you're playing a game, it seems like it's all just for fun. And we know that job searching is not just what you call playing the game. Whenever you're job searching, it seems like that you take on a new responsibility with all the work that they give you, and just how it's handled and all that other stuff. But compared to being right here at my desk, this right here is supposed to be an example right here on my sitting at my desk right here if I was in the classroom. But let's just say that if you have your own office where you have multiple amounts of files and paperwork, and if anybody were to say that it's not the same thing as what you learned in kindergarten, huh? In the kindergarten, they may have given you a little book to write on, and maybe a few comic books that you to read or something like that. But really, that with the contracts, so whenever you start a job, an activity book that we wanted to just tour. That really, I'm like, what can you do really to impress the world? Also, but then on your hand about the contracts. That if the contract, if this contract was good for at least, they say that maybe 8 years, and What's the important reason about contracts, though? And I know I talked about this before about important reasons that they say is toward it. Try not to get all nervous and thinking is toward it whenever you sign a contract. That don't mean that that it's like, well, you gotta cooperate, but like with anybody, if you're going to be working for a business, they would at least ask for great expectations for you to show a great performances on what you do as a professional each and every time. It's not about as to word that, oh, okay, well, you got to do what I say. Well, I'm the captain of the company. But some people may think that, that they are very cautious about what that they sign and then what they click on, because it's like if anybody will warn toward it that you just if you kind of you got a bad feeling about something, that whenever you sign something that basically means is toward it now they think that oh, okay, they're wanting to put the responsibility in your hands. But still though, that the way we think about with most autographs, and I'll go ahead and write my the first letter of my name right here, like upside down, like this right there was supposed to be my desk. But if anybody will hold on to it, yeah, you're used to your name being on your work or maybe on a desk right here. But still, that how many of us think that if you're going to be signing any kind of contract and thinking is toward it, if it's going to be that they want those expectations to last for about 25 years, and you're like wondering toward 25 years. But still, that it seems like to where that they think about is to where like an agenda. You'll be proud as to where a number of things that could be accomplished, other than thinking about, oh my, you expect this amount of work, and then I have to deal with it maybe for 8 years or maybe for 15 or 20 years, and like if anybody wanted toward it, yeah, if it's going to be maybe a marriage license, or if it's a fishing license, or maybe any source of license, maybe getting into marketing, and you're thinking about as to where that the license is going to be good for about maybe 4 years, maybe 3 years. Permits or license and certifications that qualify them are good for about 2 or 3 years. And you're like thinking as to where that maybe if something changes to where that you had to opt out of the agreement, to where that for whatever reason that you can't stay on, or for any reason like that. And I know that if anybody will want to where that if they're going to be looking at these sorts of contracts, that they can go on for about 5 pages, 5, 6, maybe 7 pages, for almost anything that you're going to be doing, anything online that talks about the agreement. But one thing that we can also think about is to where really, what is it really asking for necessarily, and then just to understand about the terms of service, and that they want to make sure that they should they kind of explain about it, to where that if you're going to be sign up to have information emailed to you instead of being mailed to you by postal, or if it's anything related to to saving the environment, or if it's anything about taking on a new job, that new things that you're not used to seeing. So it's basically, if anybody will warrant toward it, that yeah, a contract that whenever you sign a contract, that there's going to be some things that are going to be a little bit different from what you're used to. So you're probably thinking about back whenever you were young, that maybe you don't realize about what's going on necessarily, to where that you feel like you've been playing the game of if anybody wants, or that if you played the card game a number of times, or maybe if you played bingo, if you look at it like a game, to where that whenever if most of us had played the game of Monopoly, or any other source of game like that, to where that they say you buy a house or buy a car, or maybe you say you buy insurance, and then there's going to be what you call these contracts. But also the way I think about it is that with contracts, if quite a few of them, if they're going to last for about 25 years, they ask for is to where great expectations, great performances. They're not really looking for is to where that if you don't do all what is assigned, but still that they would really ask for is for great expectations. And if you've been doing good from the past year and a half, maybe 2 years. So let's just say that at the job during time was not considered permanent. So let's just say if it was a temporary job, maybe you started maybe as a local freelancer worker, as a photographer, or maybe just a letter carrier if you were if you were hired originally to do letter carrying. And it goes by saying this to where that with no contract, that basically means is to where that after about maybe 6 or 7 weeks of work, and they'll let you know that if they you'll continue, if they need to continue, with your product, if they still need you to do work for them. And so if anybody were to say that if you're going to be working a job, then quite a few of these jobs that may only last for about 4 or 5 weeks, and think it is toward it from all that you were doing. So if anybody say, really, am I really looking forward to that at all? Or if it's just like, I just kind of think about it as toward one way or the other, just knowing about where I'm getting at. But anyway, got right there is the date right there. And if anybody wanted toward it, if anybody has seen, from the dates, that if anybody has seen about the way people have read the dates before, it would be read like this right here. It would show the month right here and then the year. I'll go ahead and put 2028 right there. So yeah, different ways of how you can read the date right there. And so you're like thinking is that really, like each time that you sign something, that you would think that the date would automatically be printed. But you have right here is digital is only the beginning. So if anybody say that any sorts of type of logo or anything like that, anything about writing, any type of graphical type work, that digital is only the beginning. And what I mean by that is to where that's not all. I like that knowing about our future, to where that there's going to be what you call this other sorts of designing work, and yeah, that we're talking about maybe so far as the digital work and as well as graphical work and web development work, and so far as mobile use, that we're talking about that possibly in the next 11 years that we could be discovering more options and maybe more powerful networks also. But think about it as to where contracts, this is supposed to be about the future, everybody. It's not really supposed to be about really what you got to deal with, but just to make sure that everybody's on the right track and everybody's willing to cooperate. That really about I guess it's all about is toward it making sure that they know that understanding you a little bit more for what you do, and if you graduated and then if you got your degree and based on your work performances, and they would ask as to where if you're in business, whenever you sign a contract, you basically say is toward it that you're in business, and this is the agreement right here. And I know that if anybody wanted toward it, there might be a contract based on for business work. So if you're going to have about maybe a group meeting about people who sign a contract, and if it's going to be a group meeting, so if you're going to have maybe just one document, kind of like this right here, just one document, and it shows about maybe 2 other columns with different signatures. And so just think about as to where that they may have that online, maybe even on Skype, to where that on Google or Skype, to where you can actually sign a form from like a little tablet, a little Kindle, graphical type tablet. You can actually sign something online. And if you're going to be in a meeting with about maybe 4 other people, and they ask you to sign something, and it's done online, so you don't have to worry about printing off a form or nothing. But still, that if anybody say that, it basically means that you're present. That you were there, and then this is what you talked about. This is what you agreed on. So if anybody will warrant to that for any sorts of contracts, that whenever we think about them, it's like. Oh well, are you really looking forward to that, or are you okay with that? And so, if anybody will warrant toward it with most contracts, though, that people tell you what the plans are and what they want to see, and then it's like, oh, okay, I don't know if I'm all right with that, but still, that it seems like it's all about is toward it. You say, pencil or pen, which one do you prefer? Like, which one are you okay with? I'm not really picky, to be honest with you. But still, if anybody were to say that, if they're going to be signing a contract electronically, then they had those tools to where that you sign something and say, "Are you okay with signing this?" Even on from your mobile phone or something. I'm like, yeah, that knowing about really, is everybody going to be okay with what's going on, what the agreement was, and what's the arrangement? But still, though, that just understanding contracts, that the way we see this right here, that with some of my InDesign work, and I'm just like warning toward it, if anybody sees this, toward it, that whenever you're going to be starting a job, especially for business reasons, that they expect you great expectations, and that they would say this to try to be proud that whenever you sign a form, that they ask you to, where each time, if it's going to be 5 years from now, that they expect great performances. It's not really supposed to be about who's supposed to follow somebody's rules. And if anybody will warrant to it, if you can make your own rules, yeah. If you can make your own rules and somebody had to follow them, and let's just say if it's one of them, and what do you think it would be? Well, I could probably say that, you don't wear any expensive cologne because it gets on my nerves, but or makeup or lipstick. But if anybody say, really, that kind of rule? Oh, if anything, then I would probably say that if one of the rules could be is to where that. That if anybody's heard that, to where between no smoking and and then as well as the other one could be is to where that if you're going to be starting a job, that they ask you is to where if you're going to maybe make one ground rule, and one of those everybody needs to wear a name badge, or for the holidays, that this is what you need to do. And so I can maybe think of a couple of examples of anybody say, if you can make your own ground rules, at least one of them, what do you think it would be? But just think about it with an agreement, an agreement, and they say that it's between you and then the persons of the agreement by, for the company and for the business. So that's basically what it is. And if anybody say that there are other things how to describe it about it also, but really that. The way I think about it too is toward it, if I'm going to be sitting right here at my desk right here, and if anybody say, yeah, just to receive your grade report, just to receive your grade book, just to look at your grades, how many of us are going to say that, really, that if they had to pay, a certain amount just to get that information mailed to them, or just request it somehow, or that that they say that that how many of us are going to maybe experience that, to where that an autograph is asked for just to get their grade book, a statement, monthly statement, or for a grade book. And at the time, I begin to wonder that too. But a few times whenever I was delivered a package, that I was asked for an autograph, and at the time I do wonder to where that why is it? But still, that I kind of look at it as to where that your name basically means this, to where that thanks for your service, and then for you were there at that time, and really that and I just really think though is to where that I just really think that it's all about the matter of for how the service meant for what was expected. So whenever you order something, and maybe if you're delivering something, maybe for a special occasion or something like that, maybe for one 1 year working anniversary, for how long you've been with the company, they would maybe say that an autograph would be important also. But really, like how did you meet this person? And people say that it's kind of a long story, but you may have met this person before you started working for the company, and they knew you somehow. And that you probably think is to where that anything that you thought was make believe, or anything that you may have thought was just playing the game. It's just a roll of the dice. You thought you were just rolling the dice. You didn't think that it was actually going on. But some examples of what you call rolling the dice, and that you're like thinking about examples of what you would call rolling the dice. Whenever you turn about 3 pages, people may think that you completed 2 things, or whichever, like that you signed something like that, and then say, nope, you got to go back, you got to sign this, and before you go to the next page, or that you may have thought that something about, it was all about anything such as activity that you were doing online or something. But anyway, if anybody were going to be meeting on if it's Twitter or Instagram or maybe on Messenger, I'm like anybody that you're going to be talking to online, even on Skype, that we could think about is toward it with anything that we're going to be doing on a daily basis, that they say is to ask for great expectations, even though that with it, the form, if it does say that, if it's good for maybe for 8 years or maybe for 5 years, we are also thinking about the future as well. But anyway, everyone, thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day.